How the Dice Fell. Flint Daniels and the Trees of Knowledge. Part 3.
When last we left our fearless explorers, we had all been stunned in a hotel by insurgents. And we're like, this planet's supposed to be peaceful. This is no good.
Some people are immune.
Yeah.
So they wake up in a room with quite a few insurgents around them. And it's like painted white metal room. It's not entirely clear where they are initially. Although they find out quick enough that I'll just tell you so you can imagine it better. They're actually on a ship, not like a spaceship, but like a derelict ocean tanker thing. And so they're like in the internals of the ship. And they there's a bunch of insurgents around them, and their weapons have been taken away, but they're in the room. And they're meeting with the group. And so the guy who's like kind of in charge, the head insurgent, his name is Ayat.
I love this guy.
And so he starts saying, "Oh man, it's so good that you guys are here. We saved you from them, man. It's really good that we got you, but before the Baobabs got you." And they're like,
the brain snakes, man. They put the brain snakes into you.
They're gonna. If you were there much longer, I'm sure that they would have given you the mind snakes.
Mind snakes. That's not brain snakes. My mistake.
Yeah. So this guy talks for a while about how the Baobabs are like evil and they give you mind snakes, and the party is getting more and more concerned about the situation. But then his and especially Nadia, who got brought along, is like crazy. What
tangled up in all this?
But then his one person, this girl Nala, puts her hand on him and says, "Let me just explain," and starts explaining. No, what he's saying is actually true. The Baobabs are a curse to this planet. They say that they're native, but they're not. You can tell by their physiology that they're not native. And I've done a lot of studying on them. And what he says about the mind snakes is real. The mind snakes, that's what they do. They put snakes in your mind and in your brain, and they take over your mind. And they're really hard to scan for, but we've built scanners that can detect them, but only by pinging around the shape of our skull. And so they asked to demonstrate, and they demonstrate on Nadia. And like they scan themselves, and they're like, and then her mind snake comes back positive.
Yeah.
And they asked like, okay, will these work on us, on the characters? And like, well, we're not sure because your skull might be slightly different, and they're really hard to detect. So Dr. Yoon takes a look at it and whatever. She's like, actually, no, I think it will work. So they scan the party, and they all come back negative. None of them are infected or whatever.
Especially Bill.
Yeah.
Maybe not, but like.
Actually, I think they're like scanning. Nadia's scanning, and she scans Bill, and Yoon is just like pushes it down towards his stomach to scan his stomach just to be sure. So that's where. And one thing too, it's not necessarily clear that these people aren't crazy. From what they're describing, the physiology they're describing, it's clear to Pill that he's not immune. If a snake were to get inside his suit,
right,
it could infect him too. Other people are. There's also this guy, Paniv.
Oh.
He's like the bodyguard of the leader, and he's just standing glaring at the party the whole time with his arms crossed.
And Pill was very concerned about him because he's badly swollen.
Yeah.
And he was like, Dr. Yoon, I think there's something wrong with him. He's badly swollen.
Yeah.
He may be reacting to something.
And finally Zainab, he's the scientist, and he is very suspicious. Or not suspicious is not the right word. He just is like, why are we trusting aliens?
Yeah.
Like we should just. Aliens are the problem. We should just kill them.
Right. That's what the Baobab trees are. They're aliens.
Yeah, the leader is like, well, no, ma'am. They're the only ones we can trust. They're from another world. They're from a fresh start. They can help us. We know they're not infected. We're good. And so,
Why is this guy the leader?
He's just got trustworthy eyes.
he's got the charisma.
Huge, googly, trustworthy eyes. Staring out from the center of that beard.
He
How couldn't you trust him?
basically, they discuss it. We do some role playing. We discuss the stuff, and the party kind of warms up to the fact that especially with Nala's help, crazy guy. They kind of warm up that what they're saying is probably true. They take them topside. They let them have their weapons back. They take them topside, and they show them they're like out on the ocean. And the reason they're out on the ocean is because with the interference, there's like no way to track them except visually, and they're in this crappy derelict thing that just looks like garbage. And there's lots of those out there now, so they're really hard to find. But they show them under the surface. They can see like baobabs under the surface as far as they can see. And they explain that they originally came from the ocean. They're ocean dwelling, and the ones on the land need more upkeep.
Right.
They need help to live, but people help. The Glenaeans help them.
Right. Where do
And-
snakes come from?
The baobabs drop them from their tree, their branches.
Yeah, and even like their roots go in, they can come out of there. Eventually, I kind of described this poorly, but basically, you know how I said like they're like made of fibers? They're just, it's the idea is that they're it's like a piece of them essentially. As someone described it, they're like made of snakes.
Right.
Supposedly, still haven't seen any actual evidence of this, but this is what the insurgents say is true. And they say that almost the entire planet is infected. They cover almost the entire planet. They cover 90% of the planet's surface now. Everyone on the planet is infected except for a few little groups of insurgents who can't communicate with each other. They don't even know if other things are still alive. Well, that reminds me of something from last session where someone started digging around in like the dark web to find out if there was any entertainment.
Yeah.
And they found out that there was like some sort of like hub of entertainment that still existed in like some secret place.
Yeah.
But like 6 months ago it was all shut down, and now only because of
The Wayback Machine.
like someone's tech skills to like
Yeah.
find the traces that this once existed were they able to find it. So whoever was using that is gone now. But anyway, yeah. And so they start asking, okay, well, what's actually bad about the baobabs?
Yeah,
Like,
what's
what
the
are-
end goal here?
What are they doing? And so then here's what's going on. They've got roots that go miles and miles. They go down right through the crust of the planet, and they're covering the entire crust of the planet. And here's what they do. A seed lands on your planet. They grow. They cover the whole planet. And then once their roots are through the whole planet, at once they all contract and crust and blow the crust off the planet. And they shoot out into space and infect new planets.
Yeah. And that's why the trees all have to coordinate with each other through the signals so that they can squeeze in unison to destroy the planet
So
to get out into space.
And this is where Brian told me that he was going to have to make his science fiction science check, not his science check.
Right. Yeah. The science check is like pegged at bullshit, of
Yeah.
course. But
But so it was like all right, I'm gonna make my science fiction check, and everyone is like super skeptical, and he makes like his fame check, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's the thing that could totally happen. And they're like, he's like, yeah, it's the thing that could totally happen, and everyone's like, oh no.
the planet's going to blow up. Yeah.
And so this is how these things spread from planet to planet. They go to a planet, they infect it, they blow up the crust of the planet, like the center of the planet's there, but then that shoots them off, and their seeds land somewhere else. But these things, this is on this planet where they landed. They have technology similar to Earth, and so the scientists, presumably like for all of these machines, these things, have actually incorporated jump drives into them now.
Oh.
So they'll be able to not just travel, because they would just travel at a slow speed, and millions of years later they would infect some other planet. But now they can, like, the ones that are aimed at actual planets, they can actually detect where they're aimed and put jump drives in. And according to these insurgents, so they do have a primitive intelligence, because every baobab seed is grown by consuming an intelligent creature's brain to like provide it with a primitive intelligence. But mostly they don't really plan, but they mostly work through the scientists or whatever that are in their thrall. So basically, like, the scientist was like, wants to help the baobabs, and they're like, sweet, we can put a jump drive in this thing. So they do.
So yeah, now there's concern about how when this planet explodes, the seeds will jump drive out to all these other planets.
Yeah.
And like that. But if
Make them immune to the...
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Or just burn the planet down.
There was talk of, yes, that was Chumley's idea. He was like, I know what we should do. We should blow up the sun. And he just suggested that. It must have been Pill. Was like, Pill was like, we can't just. We don't know how to just blow up the sun. And it's like, oh really? I thought by now you guys would have figured out how to do that. Because of course he's from the past, and there's all these scientific advances. So he's like, oh, I just assumed you could blow up the sun.
We'd have done that so many times by now if we could do that. Like, oh, this art planet sucks. Let's blow up the sun and leave. Or rather, leave and then blow up the sun. It's important to get the order on that right.
Screw you guys. Blam.
Yeah. But anyway,
Hey, do you like visitors? Nope. Oh, okay.
So basically, to summarize a bunch of like discussion and role playing, they kind of come up with a plan. Like they've tried a few things to get rid of the Baobab, but they don't really have a plan. They're hoping that these aliens with different tech than them might have something that they wouldn't have thought of or whatever, right?
Nope.
Well,
Not really.
they do think of hacking them
Yeah.
somehow because they're not
They're
really
networks.
technological, but they're silicon based. They're very organic. They're like as complex as an organic creature, but they're also not like us at all. Like they kind of like look like a machine, but they're complex like an organic. And they think about hacking them, and they're like, well, we've tried stuff, but it doesn't really work. And they seem to have defenses, but we do know that there does seem to be some focus to their network of communication. There is like a mother Baobab. Now, the original mother Baobab, the one that like was the first seed on this planet, we put a lot of effort in, and like 3 years ago, we successfully detonated a nuke, sci-fi nuke underwater. It's really hard to nuke things underwater, but we did it. We blew it up. And then, like, a couple days later, a different one was promoted to be the mother one. So it didn't, like, really do anything. But if you want to hack the system, you've got to go to the current mother one to, like, that will get broadcast out. And they start talking about the anti-epiphany message that's like a mimetic message. Can we use that as the carrier? So they decide to
start stringing together sci-fi.
Can you epiphany the mother and then have all of the Baobabs like crystallize themselves?
Yeah, but then they didn't actually have the epiphany signal itself, and they didn't really want to.
Yeah.
So they didn't actually have a plan of what they were going to hack with initially, and they're like, let's just try this carrier to see if it works. So they, Hill and Ampele work together to like work on the science and tech side of it. And Flint Daniels is a diplomatic officer, so they build this thing that's going to like send brain waves from Flint Daniels' mind into Nadia's mind, who they know is infected.
Yeah.
And she's been put in the brig, and she trusts Flint Daniels because they're involved, and also he made a great diplomacy check to convince her it's okay, I'll get you out of this.
And Flint Daniels scanned negative for snakes, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Whole party did. The only one positive
So
was
their intimacy didn't result in him getting snaked.
No.
Oh, God.
So they go down to the brig where she is, and he's like, okay, I'm going to try this thing on you to help you get rid of your mind snake, and it'll really help you. And she's like, you're going along with these people. There's no mind snakes. They're crazy. But it's like his force of personality is enough to make her not like freaking out with terror.
Yeah.
She's terrified and no longer trusts him, but she's like, she doesn't like flail around.
Yeah.
She's able to do it. Yeah. Without like knocking her out or whatever. So he starts doing this mind thing with her, and he starts connecting to presumably the mind snake in her mind. And he makes a diplomacy check and basically realizes that these things, they consume brains to, each one consumes a brain. They work with your brains. They're very brain oriented. And most of their signals are like brain oriented. They're like brain signals. And he realizes that they rebuff any attempts of other stuff, but like brain images might work. And then he remembers the horrifying images that he saw on the
Frozen 6?
the desert planet that had that crystal brain that like sent horrifying images.
Yeah.
And
It's brain related, so
he realizes they may be vulnerable to that. He lets his mind wander back to the subconscious rememberings of those horrifying images, and finds that it's actually quite an effective mimetic attack against them. And so he basically uses those images that he saw in the insanity machine on the mind snake, and so it works.
Mind snake leaves?
No,
so
it's stunned,
it becomes stunned and docile. And so they're like, oh great, now we're going to try to remove it. And also they science it up and whatever, and they figure out, this could actually work.
Yeah.
This attack could work if we did it on the mother Baobab. So
Now,
they have a plan now.
Now, previously, these guys have tried surgically removing these snakes before,
Right.
and it only works 1 out of 1,000 times, and the rest of the time it kills the person.
Right.
It's one out of 100, but
1 out of 100. Oh yeah, that's right.
And that was
it? Like,
that was specifically, no one had ever had any
Yeah.
success before, but Nala, who's like the local, she's actually a nurse, but she's has been studying them and has like the only successful removals of anyone, and but usually the people die. Like it's almost impossible to remove.
Right.
The snake is docile, and so her and Dr. Yoon set out to remove this brain snake. Dr. Yoon wants to learn, help. So they start doing the process, and partway through, the snake suddenly like goes berserk, shreds her brain, and
Yeah, she gets
and she
sick.
just like shudders
Oh,
around on the thing and dies
Yeah.
horribly. After Flint Daniels had said, "Don't worry, we'll
Yeah.
it'll be okay."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So they drew poorly on the skill thing,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
so
So it didn't work. But the fact that we were
So
messing
Flint
with
lost
this
his
thing,
girlfriend.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it also, since they're all networked in something, apparently we triggered some kind of defensive reaction, or we alerted the brain snakes that
Right.
we're messing with them in ways they don't like.
Right.
And so that's when this happened.
yeah, suddenly, it was actually right at that moment. Suddenly, from like every grating, from every whatever,
Vents and stuff.
metal snakes just start falling everywhere, just
Oh.
everywhere.
They're just swarming all over.
They're
the
like this
place.
big. These little metallic, I guess, silicon
Yeah.
snakes just start falling through everything, pouring all over them, and suddenly there's pandemonium. Everyone
Yeah.
just on the ship is getting covered, and everyone just bolts. Everyone
Right.
has to run for it. There's screaming
Yeah.
pandemonium.
We see that badly swollen guy go down.
Yes,
under
one
the
they
snake
actually
suit.
see the snakes like
Go
goes
up his
goes
nose.
up his nose, and he's like and
Right.
falls over unconscious.
Yeah,
And the party gets
So-
split up.
we can't trust the swollen guy anymore.
And there's several minutes of pandemonium. Party gets split up. Now they've actually fixed their communicators to work over the Wi-Fi, so that they, as long as they have Wi-Fi, which the ship has, though it doesn't go to the internet, I guess. But as long as they have Wi-Fi, their communicators work with each other because they didn't initially. So the party regathers in a storage room. And I was like, okay, you guys have all been apart for 5 minutes with mind snakes crawling all over. Any of you could have been infected. So I pulled them all apart, and I had separate pieces of paper that I shuffled around and gave them
Yeah,
pieces of paper that
told you
presumably said whether you're
by
infected or
mind
not.
snakes and what the
Ah,
implications
welcome to
of
the
it.
new game. It's called Paranoia.
Yeah. So, well, Pill knows how to scan for mind snakes because
Right.
he's seen the
Oh,
procedure done dozens of
he
times.
tweaked his tricorder,
Quadcorder.
quadcorder to be able to do the same thing that the mind snake sensor did.
Yeah. So Pill is like scans everyone and himself and says we're all uninfected, especially Dr. Yoon, who can verify what I've just told you. Dr. Yoon, will you please verify that all of us are uninfected, especially you and me?
Yeah. So yeah, because I mean, she can verify that
Yeah.
that thing works on them.
Yeah.
That she did earlier.
And so Yoon verifies that we're all uninfected, especially Pill and Yoon.
Right.
And
So do they believe this?
Well, I mean,
Of course not.
I was super convincing.
it's interesting. I mean, Pill was super suspicious, but he's always super suspicious.
Right.
So no one really knew anything to think. There was a lot of discussion, but basically the sensors came up negative, and they were like, well, whatever. I definitely know that at least a couple people were basically thinking that I was just messing with them, like that there were no infected ones in there.
Right.
And
And well, I obviously know this for a fact because I scanned everyone and they are all uninfected, especially Dr. Yoon.
Yes.
It fits perfectly. That is what somebody who has studied humans briefly would believe humans speak like.
yeah, and so
I just want to be very clear that Dr. Yoon is also uninfected and she can verify what I said.
I understand. I understand perfectly.
and the one thing that's interesting is actually I did this spur of the moment, and then later I was like, I don't know if I regret this or I'm happy I did it, but I actually didn't look at who I gave the different things to, and it was random, so I actually don't even know who's infected, if anyone. So
That's good. It's all part of the fun.
yeah, so it was great. There was some definite paranoia, but they couldn't really do anything, so they headed out to see what was up, and they head down the corridors. We could continue this in the car, although we're pretty close.
We're
to being
almost
done.
done here. So
They
let's
they
wrap
head
it
down the
up.
corridor, and they immediately get attacked by this.
Wasn't there some insurgents attack us?
Yeah, just some insurgents just came bursting down there and just started like and started attacking them, and fisticuffs ensued.
Yeah.
And there was some serious fisticuffs.
Pill wound up fighting the toughest guy, and he got beaten up.
And Pele actually went down and got a black eye.
Yeah.
But they eventually defeated them, and as each of them Actually, no, I guess they just knocked them out. So
Yeah, no,
nothing
it
really
wasn't. It
happened.
was the other group. We found after that fight, we found Science Guy.
The science guy, the guy who was like
Yeah.
didn't really like them.
Right.
Because
He also
I think.
had a brain snake scanner, and he pinged us all negative, and himself. And then I verified. And I was like, yes, he also is completely uninfected, just like you. So we are now verified 3 times.
And they found him being attacked by some snakes, but he was zapping them with the super taser thing.
Yeah.
And so they talked to him, and he's like, realized
I
he
don't
doesn't
trust
really
you,
like
but-
them, but he's like, we're in dire straits. We need to find out what's going on here. Try to take back control of the ship.
So
And-
let's go to the super taser room.
Yeah, the
They
party
stored
actually
the
asked
super
if they had
tasers.
more. So he's like, yeah, we can go to get more of the heavy tasers. So they head towards the heavy taser room, but right before they get there, they get ambushed
More
by
fighting.
infected insurgents. And so they
Yeah.
get shot up by the same kind of guys that attacked them earlier, but they're not using stun anymore.
Yeah.
There's a guy with a big heavy laser machine gun. There's a guy with there's a sniper. There's scouts that are sneaking
Yeah.
up and shooting them. There's mook level. There's
So
this
it's a
there's
great
this big
fight.
firefight in the
We
hallway.
kill a bunch of them, and whenever they die, Brain Snake comes out.
Yes.
Now there's
Yeah.
a Brain Snake coming at you. You have to kill
so
that.
it comes out of their nose and then starts coming, and
Yeah.
if it gets on you, then you have a chance of being infected.
Yeah.
And so no one actually got a brain snake on them because they were very good at killing those
Yeah.
as quickly as possible. And they killed off those infected insurgents. And
Yeah, and I guess the snakes can't discriminate on anyone who's infected because you don't even know who's infected.
yeah, true.
There's no giveaway.
Yeah, that's a great way to verify for sure that someone is uninfected, is put a brain snake on them, and if it goes inside, then they were uninfected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just hold on to the tail.
So Ayit, the
It's like around
scientist,
witches.
Yeah.
Ayit, the scientist, is like, well, yeah, of course, we should have expected them to be guarding this place. It looks like they've managed to, because some of them were in this storage thing. It looks like they've managed to destroy some of these, but there's still enough left for all you guys. So he pulls out the heavy tasers, and so they have the freedom to take them. It's a weapon, but they can only carry 2 weapons, so they would have to give up one of their weapons to take one. Some people did, some people didn't. And they basically they stun a zone, so that they can't act, and it kills any mind snakes in that zone or adjacent zones. So they're really, really good against the snakes.
Right.
But
Yeah, and that's pretty much where we ended, because I don't think we even really planned what we were specifically going to do.
because we would have
next
gone
round.
over by the end
Yeah.
of that combat.
Yeah.
So, the idea is try to figure out what the heck's going on in the ship and
Yeah.
whatever, but they just
And
basically got those heavy
in the
tasers.
larger scale plan, most of the party seems keen on finding the mother brain thing and hacking it, because there's always a load-bearing
Stun everything.
There's a load-bearing hive mind member always.
Yeah.
Hill is a little bit more of the let's just get in our ship and get out of here before the planet explodes.
Right.
And then when these things start hyper jumping to Earth, just shoot them down.
Right.
Because Earth has defenses,
Yeah.
surely. We know that baobabs are bad, so when they start cropping up, we just destroy them.
Right.
Because, they're not super strong or anything. It's just these guys didn't know anything about them when they first showed up.
You could find the ones that are pointed at Earth,
Yeah,
blow them up before you leave.
sure.
Which is a lot better than blowing them up once they're hurtling towards the planet.
Though I kind of would like to see how the humans do against these things. It'd be useful information.
Yeah. So basically...
You want to take a human colony, put a baobab there, and put the epiphany in, and go.
That would be pretty awesome, yeah.
Science.
Yeah. But these do seem to be a separate threat from the Epiphany, so just seeing how the humans
Yeah.
do against them in general is good.
One thing they kind of discuss is not so much that they specifically hamper science or anything. It's just that the people who are infected just want to help the baobabs. They don't care about science anymore. They don't care about culture. They're just
They become
They're
enslaved.
baobab bots.
yeah. They just are doing what will
Baobabs.
benefit, whatever will make the baobab spread the fastest. And they also estimate, it's hard for them to tell, but they figure that like 90% of the planet is covered, and they figure sometime in the next 6 months is when the planet's going to blow. It could be like in 5 minutes, or it could be in 6 months. They don't know exactly. Sometime in the next 6 months is...
Well,
Let's go there.
if we can get back into our ship, we don't necessarily have to fix it, because if the planet blows up, that'll launch us for it.
The ship is in pieces. It's like it's totally as destroyed as it can get.
Yeah.
The only reason it's not like in little tiny pieces is Gorbin's little safe shield. Oh, we also got split up from the Skrillex, the guys in spheres.
yeah.
They came with us. The people of this planet were happy to meet them. Or they just thought they were robots actually, but they were with us. But they got left behind when the insurgents kidnapped us. So now Robin's like, oh no, what will they do? How will they
Are
find
they
their
gonna
way?
get snaked?
And they're like, and she's like, they're gonna have their own little side adventure.
And
Thing
what about
is,
Gorbad?
I think the Skrillex actually are going to do all right because their brains are too tiny to fit a snake inside.
Could be, yeah.
Probably the Kiwabi are also immune. That'd be pretty cool.
The Kawabi are the ones that are food.
Oh yes, they're delicious.
I think if a snake could infect Pill, I assume Pill is probably about the size of a Kiwabi, or is he bigger?
No, he's bigger. He's about the size of a bowling ball, and more importantly, he doesn't have a skull, so he can stretch a little.
Yeah.
Well, that
Which
sounds like
actually, sorry, I actually forgot to mention in the recording, but it was made clear, and you communicated this to everyone except Pill, that like she's like, yeah, this scanner should work on our skulls too, but I mean, obviously it's not going to work on Pill. So they have no way to scan Pill.
Yeah.
I assured them all, however, that I was uninfected, and so was Dr. Yoon, who could verify.
Yes.
Pill's log. Pill's private log. Pill's log that no one is allowed to listen to except for Pill. Encryption key 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. None of us are infected. I have established this very clearly. I have also established that since Lieutenant Yoon is also not infected, her scan of all of us confirms that none of us are infected. Neither myself nor Lieutenant Yoon are infected. This is very important and key, because there are memetic hazards on this planet too. At first I thought they were counter memes that could be used against the Epiphany, but I don't know if this is particularly controllable. I think this entire planet is going to be destroyed. We found yet more destroyers, and I've already given my report. Well, hopefully we can get out of this one, or I can anyway, because I am not infected.
Medic officer's log. I tried to do the surgery. I tried to get the snake out of her head. It should have been easy, but I failed, and she's dead. And she's dead because I did not succeed. She's dead because of me. Poor Flint. Poor Nadia.
Why is it that every planet we go to has things that want to like take over our minds and destroy the universe? I have half a mind to just cut our losses and just leave and not have our brains ripped apart by these metal snake things. This is horrible. Ugh.
Personal log, Flint Daniels, Space Ranger. Yet again, the seeming beauty and peace on this planet hides a lurking menace. The docility I had picked up amongst these people is in fact a soporific mind poison, lulling them into a false sense of peace as their planet lurches towards destruction. And someone I cared very much about is gone. Again. The mission is all. This is the indomitable spirit of the Space Ranger. Though the galaxy may yet seem once more to be nothing but an inhospitable and hostile place, I will find that single gleaming mode of inspiration. I will rise above this. I will seek the unreachable star.
Lieutenant Chumley, security officer. I really don't like this planet. I thought the gigantic bulbous tree things were disturbing, but now I find out they are completely filled with squirming snake worms. Lovely. Today, in combat, one of the snake worms, which apparently was made of metal, climbed right up my hams and headed right for my jolly knob. I guess it wanted to crawl into my horny and try to make me all grinagog. Luckily, that rum duke Pill was there. Almost shot me right in the fizzog. Anyway, he got the maggoty wriggler. I guess he's a bit of a square cove after all. Had me fooled. Anyway, I don't like this place, and I stick to it that we should just blow up the sun. Signing off.